Welcome back to the channel. It's Idiot RC. Today we're looking at the Louise Rowdy. The Louise Rowdy is very similar to a tire that's beloved by a lot of people, the Duratrax Showdown. Now, I have kind of talked a little bit about this before. Duratrax tires, I think, no longer exist in a technical sense. There's still some out there circulating. I think there's still some inventory being sold off, but I don't think they're being made anymore. And my history on this is not exactly well researched, but I'm going to state some things that I believe to be fact and some things that are my opinion. So please do not take any of this as gospel. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please let me know. But I think Duratrax tires started off as a subsidiary of Proline. I think they were a budget brand of Proline. And then once Horizon got its evil money-grubbing fingers on Proline, they were like, less profits, and they did away with Duratrax. So now Duratrax tires have all but disappeared. You can still get some of their Class 1 tires. You can still get fossils on places like eBay. And actually, I think you can still get them on AMain. But I believe that once inventory is depleted, you will no longer be able to get them. However, there is some hope because it appears that Louise Tires, which is a brand that I personally am not familiar with, I believe it to be a brand from, it's somewhere overseas. I believe it to be possibly from Australia. Somewhere in Europe. I don't know. They appear to be making Duratrax tires or Duratrax patterns in their own tires. So they have Louise's name on them. They have different names, but the Louise Rowdy is a Duratrax Showdown in tread pattern. However, the tire itself is also very different. The carcass is significantly thicker. The rubber on it is significantly thicker. The compound feels different. It just feels like a different rubber. It still feels pretty sticky. It's a lot thicker. The foams are included are a lot different. The foams that are included in Duratrax tires were very typical Proline memory foam. The foam included in here is a fairly stiff single stage open cell, but it's got the I don't know, comp cut or star cut. If you go and you look at crazy crawler foams, they look like those. It's got the little cut out all the way across the top of it, like somebody took scissors and cut V's into the foam, and that supposedly softens up the foam and lets it conform more, which is needed with this tire because it is a very thick carcass tire with a very big lug. The Rowdy is. So I'm excited to test a lot of these Louise tires because I was always a fan of Duratrax tires. I don't think they're the best thing out there, but they were a really, really, really good tire for what they cost. And Louise tires now cost about what Duratrax tires used to cost. And if they're also good tires, that's very exciting for the hobby. So let's get to it. Let's put the Louise Rowdy through its paces. So coming on to the first obstacle here. This is our first obstacle, and we put them right into a side hill. And what we're testing here is the ability of the tire to not only side hill, but to reposition on a side hill, to hold the side hill and then turn up, drive up the rock, hold the side hill the other way, and then reverse and come back down. Now, so far, we're seeing really good results from the Rowdies. We're not seeing a whole lot of side slip, a little bit, which is to be expected with a large lug like this. But they're side hilling very well. Those factory foams are holding up very well. I can see the tire conforming to the surface, but not collapsing on the sidewall. But as soon as we started to turn up, we did lose it. Now, that's not necessarily an immediate sign of a problem with the tire. Side hilling is kind of an art when it comes to driving it, and I'm not always the best at it. What happened off camera, maybe slightly on camera there in the bottom right hand corner, was a very good showing of the Rowdy's ability to handle loose, sandy dirt terrain. it went right up that without any issues. The last couple tires we've driven have struggled a little bit with that, especially the dumbass Chanmu tires. So let's give the Rowdy another shot coming here at this low side hill. And it is important to note that this is a pretty steep side hill. Let me get through this obstacle and then I'll take the camera around the side so you can actually see how steep it is. Because I don't think I've shown that before. And I'm not going to say it's the steepest side hill ever, but it's steep. Now what we want to do optimally is for that rear end to slip a little. No, the front is slipping out. Nope, that's not what we want. Yes, I want that rear end to slip out a little so that I can start turning up. There we go. Let's load up that driver's side rear tire and we will be good. Now, not good. So what happened there is the forward drive was outperforming the tire's ability to turn in. I am not a fan of how much I've been rolling this rig recently. Again, very good showing in the loose. We're going to give this one more shot. When we fail twice, we go a little bit higher, which is a little bit less extreme angle on the side hill. So as you can see, we're going to take it at a little less of an extreme angle, which if it does it, it'll still be a pass. It's just not as good as some. The foams on this definitely are not the issue. I honestly believe that the issue is, I think a little bit of it is the forward drive is outperforming the tire's ability to reposition, which is common with chevroned tires, which this is not chevroned, but this is a big lug tire, and that is also common with big lug tires. I also think that a problem with big lug tires is our contact patch is actually pretty small. We're riding on top of those lugs, and although I can see the foam's allowing the tire to sag a little bit and conform to the surface, it's not doing it a lot. I think that this tire could benefit a lot from a 3D insert, because I do think that it needs, well, actually, I might try just a super soft memory foam in this. I might try a Proline foam in this, because I think this carcass might be good enough to support itself on the side hill without needing an overly stiff sidewall, like an overly stiff foam. But I think it needs to be able to collapse more. So that might be coming at some point, is I might try some different foams in these. Now, typically when I test a tire, I kind of like to, if it's an option, I like to run the factory foams in it first. And then depending on how it does, I will run other foams. If it's something that I think is showing a lot of promise but could be made better, I'll definitely run some other foams. Or if it comes from the factory with trash foams, sometimes I'll go ahead and just swap them out to give the tire the best opportunity, the best chance that it could possibly have. The wheels that we're running with the Louise Rowdys, we are running Gearhead RC Champs, I believe they're called. They're really cool 80s vibe wheel. You know, this truck kind of has the 80s square body look to it, and with those big old lug tires and those Champ wheels, that is a look. And man, does that look cool. Again, those are Gearhead RC. They're called Champ. Gearhead wheels are kind of hard to find right now. I don't know what happened. COVID seems to have really messed with a lot of small guys in the business. They've recently started selling again. You can buy them on rpphobby.com, but they've only got right now, they've only got one style. I've been told by I emailed them several times because I really like Gearhead wheels. I've been told that they're working on getting their inventory built back up and selling, but things are slow going with their CNC process. I think they sold a bunch of their equipment to make it through COVID. And so here we are. But if you want to check out their wheels, you can get them at RPP Hobby. They have a 12-hole design right now, I think it is, that comes in like gold, silver, black, blue, and red, I think. Here, I sound like I'm trying to, like a salesman for Gearhead. I just really like their stuff. But their coolest wheels are like these Champs, and they have a 5-slot slotted, like a slot mag that's really cool. Those are hard to find right now. You can sometimes find them on eBay, but they're difficult to come by. Alright, drive down here and get set up for our next obstacle. So you might be asking if these are a replacement for Duratrax, if they're using the same design. Are the Rowdies as good as the Showdowns? I did say that the compound feels different. The carcass is definitely a lot thicker. Come on. Ooh. Didn't need to go that far that way. Nice. So with that tall tire, we don't get hung up on the front links like we do on some of the little bit shorter tires at the top of that obstacle. As seems to be the pattern, I'm going to do this obstacle 3 times. It just seems to be what I've been doing. I don't know if they're as good. I don't know that they're worse either. I don't mean that as... There's definitely something different about them. I mean, the compound is inarguably different. The carcass is definitely thicker. But I have some Showdowns. It's been a long... I don't know why it came up this way. This is not a good way to come at this. That is an axle snapper. I'm not going to come that way again. I'm not that good at talking and driving. I don't know if they're are better or worse. I don't know yet. I think probably I still have some Showdowns, so I think probably at some point what we're going to have to do is have a Showdown. And we're just going to have to see how they compare with one another. And probably I think a good idea would be to make them as evenly matched as possible. So put them on like the same kind of bead lock that gives them the exact same offset and the exact same weight, and then run them on their factory foams, and then run them both on either a 3D insert or like a Crawler Innovation foam or something, and see how they stack up with one another. I think part of the, part of the difference, so that was 2. Part of the difference is definitely the thickness of the carcass, which for this style of tire, the thicker carcass of the... Sorry, I keep looking away from the camera. I realize my voice is probably cutting in and out. The thicker carcass of the Rowdy might be beneficial in a trail aspect. And I do think the Rowdy is a trail tire. I think the Showdown is a trail tire. That's a very aggressive lug that is more similar to a mud tire than it is a rock crawling tire. That said, that doesn't mean that it doesn't do rock crawling well. So the 3rd time around, we're going to try the hard way. Okay, if we hook this over there, do we get it? Oh. Wheel speed? Yeah, whoa. Oh no. Okay, we get it with... Oh! I let off. Okay, we can get that with wheel speed, taking the hard way. That is a pass. Very good showing. So the thicker carcass with a trail tire is sometimes desirable. The Showdown, one of my complaints with both the Showdown and the Deepwoods, especially the Showdown, was I did feel like for the size tire that it was, that it was a little thin. Not for the size tire, for the type of tire it was. I did feel like it was a little thin, because to me that's a tire that's going to be used more in trail applications where big power might be applied to it. And I always felt that with the original Showdowns, it was one of those tires that might rip. Now, that said, I never ripped my Showdowns, and, you know, I hope you can tell from these videos that I don't really baby stuff. But if you can have a thicker carcass and still have a good performing tire, a thicker carcass can be advantageous. But it can be a drawback, and one of the drawbacks is this tire does not surface conform nearly as well as a Showdown does. And so what we have to do is figure out, well, how does that impact the tire? Well, one way it impacts it is being shown right here. That rear tire needs to hook the edge of that rock to pull up. And it can't, because we're not getting any bag to that rear tire. Now, I'm sure I can bump onto this. Yeah. But that's a perfect example of why you want a tire that can conform to the surface, is because that's what helps pull itself up onto obstacles. Now, this tire might be resolved by running a softer foam in the same tire. But a lot of times the carcass is so thick that you can't run a soft enough foam to make a difference. And I fear that may be the case here. We'll see. Okay, we're going to come down off here. I think I moved earlier than I have been in the past. I don't have anything figured out here to an exact science when it comes to making these videos. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the same line that we took with the Boom Racing Aggressors and take this outside line here, which is going to follow right around here. The difficult part of this line is these rocks are not set in. They will move. The truck gets at an angle. So we rely that, no problems at all. No problems at all. That did that like it was nothing. Now that is the advantage of a tire that doesn't bag too much, is sometimes that little bit of extra tire height is a major advantage when it comes to getting through an obstacle, especially when you have uneven surfaces or you have a surface that moves, like some of the rocks that are moving under this right now. Having that additional tire height, I mean, you know, when you look at it in person and when you look at the numbers especially, you're like, oh, it's 2 millimeters. What difference is that going to make? Sometimes it's all the difference. Sometimes that 2 millimeters is the difference between a successful pass and a failure. Okay, so we're going to get down here, and again, like I've been doing, we're going to go ahead and take the side exit out. So what we're relying on here is for the truck not to slip too much and for it to be able to hold the side hill well enough to traverse off the side of the obstacle. It's not too difficult. It's just a little bit technical, because if you get too low, you run right there, the front of the truck, into that rock. Yeah, now I've done it. Oh. Ooh, I've got something going on with the servo. This servo's been giving me problems lately. That's why I'm changing it. I don't know. I think I borked that. I think it's going to slide now sideways and roll out. Maybe not. Maybe not. If we can hold it. There we go. Let's keep going. Yeah, perfect. That worked out well. What do I do now? Come down this way. Okay, that worked. Did that without issue. Now we'll come up here, and this mostly relies on forward drive. Up without problems. And now we go to the obstacle, which has confused me lately, that I kind of think I rebuilt the way it's supposed to be last time, but not really 100% sure. All right, let's get that Let's see if we can pull up this way. No. That damn rock. See, that rock used to be set into the ground and you could push against it and get up. And now, the last time I discovered that it had been moved, that it slid down, and now it's not set in. So if I try to push against it, it just moves. But can we still, I think we can get up. Oh, so close. So close. All right, we've tried insetting that rock. I might have to come down here and actually try to reconstruct the entrance to that obstacle a little bit. There we go. That's what I need to be able to do. Just push off that, but not have it be so high that it actually just boosts me up. I don't want to push off of it to give the lug an opportunity. Almost. There's just too much slide back. Again, this is a problem with tires with big tread like this, is they can have good forward drive, but there's also tends to be a lot of slippage. Sorry, I know that's a little tilted, but trying to get a good angle here so that I can see better and not make driver error, and that you can see the obstacle better. Ugh. So I took that line right, but the rear slid and the front wouldn't grip enough, and I don't think now that I'm going to be able to pull out of it. All right, reset. So far, have we taken any failures? I don't think we've had any failures. I did reconstruct this obstacle. If you remember last time I said I think something broke off the top, I figured out what happened is something broke off the back edge and it created a gap that was perfect for the front tire to fall down into and then get bogged, which was taking away my steering. So that obstacle's fixed. I think the aggressor got a fail there, so I'm going to give it a pass. That's going to take... I'll have to review that video, but if it got a failure there, that'll take one of its failures away, because that was entirely the issue with the aggressor, is that front tire was getting caught. And I was kind of attributing to the fact that I thought the tires weren't quite their advertised size, because they're not. They don't appear to be 475s to me, but I think the obstacle was part of the problem. Again, this is the bad side, the downside of crawling in areas like this, is your obstacles change, and when you don't get out here often, they change without you realizing it for a while. So I don't mean for it to look like I'm rebuilding obstacles to make them easier for certain tires to go up. I'm trying to rebuild obstacles to be the way they were when I picked the lines for this course that I would use for tire testing. When I'd used a Duratrax tire for that. I used Duratrax fossils, which are the daily drivers of this rig, and I drove the course 5 times to make sure that it could be consistent. And then winter happened and I didn't come out here for months. All right, the first hard obstacle of the course, and we're getting hung up on an axle. I think that rock's gonna have to go away. Now my rear bumper's caught up. I need to smooth out the surface down there. There's definitely some problems. All right. what you hope to see is that we can get far enough onto this obstacle to be able to shuttle over. There we go, there we go. Nope. Slides back. Another big lug tire. It's going to be a problem because you really need to not have slip back for this to really work. Alright, we're going to take the bypass. That's not going to get that. Can it get the bypass? No, because the lugs won't conform. We're going to reset. Alright, one last time we're going to try. I moved some pesky loose rocks that were just sitting at the bottom of there out of the way. Rocks that were actually helping me get up on here, but then catching on the bumper. Boy, that servo, it's getting worse by the minute. Okay, this is going to be a fail. I can't get up on there. I'm just doing damage to the truck at this point. Complete fail. Can't get the bypass line either. So that was the first failure of the Rowdy. Is a difficult obstacle. It is a difficult obstacle. Alright, now we need to hook. There we go. We need to hook there. Perfect, perfect. Oh, don't go all the way up. Oh. Almost drove that perfectly. Oh, no. See, this is why this line's harder than it looks. Is because it's not wide enough for the truck. And there's all kinds of stuff to get hung up on. That kind of works. I have definitely lost power in this servo. All right, one of the last obstacles. Get near the end of the course. Oh, having trouble even getting up. There we go. There we go, correct that way. Now go up. There's just no conformity to these tires. And it's because it's a combination of, I think the foams are too stiff and the damn carcass is just so thick. I'm just driving on top of the lug right now. See the jitteriness of the front tires is because that front suspension is completely unloaded, which is why I want to get the shock bands back on the front. is it'll help with that, and it'll help with stuff like this. But again, this truck does this obstacle without shock bands. It does it in its exact configuration with the fossils and many other tires. We're starting, we're getting it. Not well. Now the hard part is you get to the top and I need wheel speed to get off the obstacle. There we go. Okay, that was a pass in a technical sense. Oh. This truck is going to need a good once over after this weekend. I've got a couple more videos I'm going to try to make tomorrow if the servo will last long enough. I don't think I brought a spare servo with me. I've got a spare motor and ESC, but I would have to, it's brushed, I would have to take out the Hobby Wing SE, the Fusion SE that's in it to even do that. And this obstacle has started giving me issues. I think it's dug out enough now to where we're going to start having frequent issues there, which that's okay. Make it a little more challenging. Let's test the ability of the Rowdy and loose soil. That's what we're doing coming up. We've got loose soil, we've got loose rocks, and then we've got a gravel hill climb coming up. So how does the Rowdy do on random trail surfaces? So far so good. We need to, I got the rear not really where I want it. Now let's just do that. There we go. Now I don't like the lug on this tire. You can either have a thick lug and a soft tire, or a thick, well, a thick lug. You can either have a big lug and a thin carcass, or you can have a thick carcass and a thinner lug, smaller lug. When you have a thick carcass and a big obnoxious lug like this, this is what you see a lot of. We get a lot of jitteriness, we get a lot of slip back, and it's because there is nothing in this tire between the lug, the foam, and the carcass that is allowing it to conform to these surfaces, to the edges of these surfaces, which is what it needs to be able to crawl up on them. And for this reason alone, without even driving them side by side yet, which I will still do, but for this reason alone being showed right here, I can guarantee you the Showdown is going to do better. Because the Showdown has the ability to conform to the surface of a rock, because it's not made out of real car tires. So there's another failure. We're going to bypass that obstacle. And now we go to the hill climb. 40% throttle. Yeah. All that lug and we can't even go up some gravel. Let's give it some more throttle. You can dig yourself a hole. There we go. There we go. So it can do it with throttle. There's a pass. But for a tire with that kind of lug, I'm not overly impressed. Let me get to the top. And the reason I'm not overly impressed, because this is another example of a tire that is more suited to be a trail tire than it is to be a rock crawling tire. It's just a big old trail lug. And it doesn't do that good on loose surfaces. And then for rock crawling, we don't do that good at conforming to the edge of surfaces, which is a pretty major disadvantage. So what are my final thoughts? I think the Rowdy is a decent tire, but I do think there's some significant problems that are going to keep it from being a really good tire. I think the Deep Woods is going to be a much better tire, but when we do compare them, it's going to be hard to keep in mind that the Deep Woods is not available anymore, and they don't pop up available very often. So it's really hard to say, well, you shouldn't get this tire, you should get a tire that's not available anymore. So should you get the Rowdy at all? Well, in my opinion, no. There are much, much, much better tires for what these cost. There are significant problems with this tire that I don't believe can be resolved. I think, obviously you could try putting a thinner or a softer foam in it and see if you can get it to conform to surfaces a little better, but you're never going to fix the fact that the carcass on this tire is like 3 mil thick, and the lugs are enormous, and they're spaced far apart, and so you're always going to get that slip back when you're trying steep climbs. Now, for a trail tire, they're okay. They're durable. They're not going to tear on you. They're probably not going to get holes in them. I think they'll last for a while. But the problem is, I would expect to see a trail tire with this kind of lug do better on loose surfaces. Now, there are some loose surfaces it did really well in. It did really well in just soft dirt, like sand. But the hill climb was pretty bad for a tire of this nature. I would have expected that to be better. However, it did do it successfully. It just took full throttle. So for me, it's a fail. I wouldn't recommend them, but for a trail tire, you could get by with them. They'll be fair. They're gonna work. So you just have to decide whether you want to have a tire that's going to limit you in your rock crawling capabilities, or if you stick to trails and you like the look of these tires and you want something that is like a Showdown, this is a good option, and it's going to be more durable than the Showdown, which from a trail perspective is going to be positive. So let's take one final profile look at those beautiful gearhead beadlocks. That's just a badass looking truck.